Hello and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog, Discord server. Come on, we're a little bit of everything. Today I want to talk about some news, but Bill Barsh, Pacesetter Games, sent us a voicemail regarding what else? Magic Missiles. So we're going to give Bill a listen, and then we'll get into the current gaming news.
Hey Eric, Bill Barsh here from Pacesetter Games, and I'm going to pile on to the Magic Missile debate, and I'm going to claim that Magic Missile is indeed an attack, and it is an attack because like most any other Magic user spell or cleric spell that is used offensively, they are considered an attack against another target, and the case being for me is that if a Magic user casts invisibility upon himself and then targets any other creature with his Magic Missile attack, he becomes visible. He becomes visible because he has made an attack against another creature. So for me, it's pretty simple that Magic Missile, Ray of Enfeeblement, or any other spell, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, is an attack. It doesn't require an attack roll to be an attack. It is still an attack against another creature.
Bill, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I don't agree that pretty much anything that causes damage is an attack. A fireball is not an attack. It doesn't involve an attack roll. It's an offensive spell, but like I said, if I were going to admit defeat in this argument, it's going to be to Glenn Hallstrom's grandson, who said a second level spell trumped a first level spell. And that's the best argument I've heard so far, especially when we're splitting hairs. That one doesn't split a hair at all. That one's a full haircut. All right. So, what do I want to talk about? Well, Steve Jackson Games, I believe last night, they published their report to the stakeholders for 2018 report. It's basically how they're doing financially and otherwise. Now, ICV2 has an article on it that I think puts it in perspective. Now, ICV2 says pulling back from Munchkin collectible card game expanding Kickstarter. Now, one of the things that they point out is that Steve Jackson Games had a gross $200,000 less than 2017. For 2018, they grossed $5.3 million. Prior to that, it was 5.5. Steve Jackson Games also reduced staff. You had to let people go. They had to control costs. Well, this kind of fits into play as because marketing conditions remain tough. As described last year, things only got worse through 2018 as fewer and fewer copies of new titles were sold into distribution. This is an industry-wide issue. We've discussed the problem with several of our friends, and most of us are watching as demand for new games continues to drop. Now, you would think with the uptick in RPGs, that wouldn't be the issue. But collectible card games are a tough business. Now, ICV2 pointed out that collectible games were seeing a money crunch in 2018. I mentioned that in a prior podcast episode. Munchkin collectible card game demonstrated the risk. After selling out the print run of the first core set, the company went back to press, a move described as a serious blunder in listening to initial feedback. Yet again, we transformed profits into inventory. If you've got inventory sitting in a warehouse, it's not making you money. It's costing you money basically to house it. The company has decided not to proceed with the second core set because the expense of creating the game was too great to justify taking the second core set fully written and paused before art and layout to the finish line. Munchkin Magical Mess also sold less than hoped, leaving Steve Jackson with lots of inventory along with lots of direct orders to Warehouse 23 as store inventory dried up and demand remained. Now, is there a silver lining for Steve Jackson Games? Yes. Fantasy Trip. and of course the rest of the non-collectible Munchkin line. Now, we're going to talk about the Fantasy Trip. Is a huge box set. It is jam-packed with goodies. It is Steve Jackson's love letter to his original RPG creation, and it is, lack of a better phrase, spot on. It literally is a beautiful project. And there are deals with other companies that have made since it shipped. Again, beautiful thing. So RPGs are on an upswing, even I guess for Steve Jackson games, but I don't know if GURP so much is on an upswing. Now, I'm going to switch over now to look into the actual report. And we are looking at, let's see, I know it's here somewhere. Oh, yeah. Top 40 products by dollar volume. Now, this does not include the Fantasy Trip, which between Kickstarter and Backer Kit made nearly $500,000. I think it was around 450,000. But what do we have in the top 10? Munchkin Deluxe, Munchkin collectible card game, Core Booster, POP, no fucking idea what that means. Munchkin Deluxe plus collectible card game booster special assembly. Munchkin Starfighter, I Want It All. Munchkin 2, Unnatural Acts. Munchkin collectible card game, The Desolation of Blarg, POP. Munchkin Mass Market Edition, coming in at 9, goes to the top 8. Ogre Miniatures Many Minis. Coming in at number 10, Super Kitty Bug Slap, which I heard something about. Apparently, it's a good family game. I might have to pick that one up. Number 11, Zombie Dice. Zombie Dice have been around for a while. But yes, Munchkin is overwhelmingly the money maker for Steve Jackson Games. It has been for years. There's no other reason to keep GURPS in print without the money coming in from Munchkin. Now, we'll probably see with the Fantasy Trip for 2019. I see the Fantasy Trip's going to be one of the huge money makers. That being said, I don't know if it's actually a huge profit maker. I don't know what the profit numbers are on that. I know Munchkin certainly has a high profitability. What does this mean in the end? Again, Steve Jackson Games had to downsize staff. Nobody who's been in business for a long time wants to downsize staff. You've probably had some of that staff there for years, and it is not fun. So that is the news. Steve Jackson Games, according to ICV2, I believe they're saying this is the 4th year. Steve Jackson sales declined for 4th year. I don't remember what they would have been making 4 years ago, but if you're not growing your business, if you're shrinking your business, that can be an issue. All right, folks, on that note, since I hear the dog in the background getting ready to bark, I don't know if you hear her starting, but I do. I think it's a perfect time to bow out for the night. I will be back tomorrow. As always, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll your dice and roll them nice. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.